AV in your ears, that's Ambush Vid, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street.
What up? This is Cool Rock Ski of the legendary Fat Boys, and you're rocking right now with the Fascination Podcast. Stick 'em, ha ha ha, stick 'em.
Yeah, AV in your ears, that's Ambush Vid, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Ryan Campbell. Ryan Campbell is a friend of previous guest Sam LaChow, and together they have released an album called Octopus. It came out in December of last year, and it has 8 tracks, like an octopus has 8 legs. In this episode, we talk about his relationship to Sam, how they met, and when they started making music together, and some of the songs that Ryan has featured on that are on Sam's albums, and why they decided to put this album out together. We talk about when they wrote it, why they wrote it, and why it took so long to come to fruition so that we could all hear it. Along the way, we do talk about Ryan's growing up and his parental involvement and inspirations, and we take a really cool detour about Ryan's other business. That is fascinating for sure, and I hope everybody will check that out. Ryan does let me play one of the songs off of Octopus at the very end of this episode. I'm not going to spoil which one it is, so you're going to have to wait and see, just like Ryan is. Special thanks to Sam LaChow for helping make this happen, and thank you, Ryan. I'm looking forward to many more conversations. And this is my conversation with specialized entrepreneur and recording artist, Ryan Campbell.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Well, welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Ryan Campbell. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you so much for having me.
It is 100% my pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryan Campbell. He has a new album out. It is called Octopus. It is with him and previous guest of the show, Sam LaChow. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, Ryan, what I like to do is I like to start from the beginning.
Sure.
It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised, man? Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised in South Seattle, in a neighborhood called Rainier Valley, which post-gentrification is better known as Columbia City. Yeah, I spent most of my time in Seattle until I was about 18, and then kind of bounced all over the place. But I split time now between Seattle and New York. I'm in Seattle now.
So you grew up in and around, I guess, wherever Sam grew up?
Yeah, so I met Sam in middle school. Sam is from a neighborhood a couple miles north of me. So I went to school in the south end of Seattle until middle school. I tested into like a program they had back in the day for Seattle Public Schools that put me into a school in the CD for middle school that was kind of broken up into like 3 tranches of curriculum, right? So I met Sam. We were in different kind of tranches, but at the same school. So then I think I was like 12 or 13. And he was already, I think, yeah, they had started Shankbone. They were making music at that time. My introduction to him wasn't through Shankbone, but I think, it was, the middle school is maybe like 2,000 kids, right? So we were aware of each other. I mean, you know how middle school is, right? It's a teenager's worst nightmare in terms of the social climbing and all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, middle school is the fucking worst.
Yeah, it was interesting. My experience with public schooling was interesting in that the school that I went to until about 4th grade was in my neighborhood in the South End and was, a predominantly different demographic than after I had tested into this sort of like advanced placement track.
What does that mean, a different demographic?
Well, different demographic than where I went post testing into this. So, I think I was one of like 8 white kids, not that, whatever, but going from that
sure
to, everybody's parents were judges and lawyers and neurosurgeons, right? All the kids that had tested into this kind of program, as every kid struggles with who they are and who they're supposed to be or who they project themselves as. I think in the long run, it really sort of helped build my sense of empathy. Just having, it's at the end of the day, regardless of the sort of whether it be socioeconomic, demographic, or what race or whatever it is, I believe that there's a certain commonality, a certain humanity.
Wait, hold on. So are you saying that we're all created equal?
It's almost like I'm saying that, yeah.
Almost like you're saying we're all endowed with certain inalienable rights?
Almost, yeah. I'm not usually a constitutional book thumper, Steve, but you really got me going here.
It sounds like that's what you're saying. Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
So anyway, no, I met Sam in middle school. I mean, I'm 33, right? So back then, myself and a couple of friends were doing this sort of like online battle rap forum, right? Where you like type out 16 bar verses and
Hold on. So it's not vocal. It's just, you're just typing.
Well, no, because like, bro, we just got DSL like that year. I was using dial-up for that, like recording vocals and like putting it on the internet was like the Jetsons as far as I was concerned.
Okay, so that's basically what everybody does now, right? They just shit talk everybody else, but it's not to music. It's just like online. It's just like, it's Twitter. So you guys invented Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. It was Twitter, right? And I think Sam caught wind of that or it like whatever. And he was living at his parents' in an apartment on Campbell. And I remember his first like studio was in a closet. He had like a bunk bed in his room with Charlie. And Charlie's 9 years younger. So yeah, he must have been like 6 or 7. Anyway, so we had been like kind of like, doing 7th grader shit, like smoking weed, trying to fuck girls and like whatever. And he invited me to record because I think he had heard about or seen some of the stuff that I was doing on Brick City. That was the pre-Twitter forum. So the first verse I recorded was in his parents' closet in 7th grade.
And you guys have been friends ever since.
Yeah, it didn't start out as a friendship. It was a rivalry at first, right? As middle schoolers.
Really?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I mean, not when he invited you to lay down some rhymes.
Oh no, then too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was friendly, but it was like I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but I was trying to out rap him, and I'm sure he was trying to out rap me. So
let's call it friendly competition. How about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Of course. Right. And looking back, it's like, the underpinning of our relationship now, which is this sort of like push to like dig deeper and like, put more effort into it. We've been friends for 20 years. So those friendships evolve and change. And I think the relationship we have now, it pulls from different things we've gone through together. But to what we were just speaking about relative to the early days, I think then it was competition. And now as a creative partner, we're on the same side and pushing each other. It was a little adversarial. I think when we were kids, just egotistical little shits, right? But I think now being like, as close to, I hesitate to say adults, but being closer to adulthood, it is no longer adversarial. It's quite the opposite. But having it start there, I do think has benefited the way we communicate with each other, the way we relate to each other, because we know when the other one's full of shit. And I think that comes from that starting place that was a bit adversarial, we'll say.
That's kind of how families are or get started. So like,
yeah.
Let's go ahead and replace the word family with, I don't know, comedian or gang member, right? Just bear with me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So you find this person, and at first you're like, let's just go with comedy. Like, bro, you think you're funny than me? I'll make this audience laugh harder than you, and then
I'll kill harder than you.
Yeah. So you're competing at first, but then after you sort of, I guess, prove your bones to each other, then you're like, all right, cool. Now let's go do this together, right? And that's kind of how gangs are, right? They're like, yo, bro, like, you want to mess with me? You're like, no, we're cool. Okay, well, then let's go fuck with those people. We're on the same side against everybody else.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
That's a weird way for me to do that, but I did it. So there's that.
No. You landed the plane, so to speak.
So you get into music. You're in middle school, right? When you did this... When you went into the closet, you were in middle school?
Yes, exactly. And then I emerged from the closet moments later.
Okay, so then music, boom, it's a part of your life. Now, when did you know that it was a passion, like a fire that you couldn't ignore? Because, you're a kid, and like you said, you're trying to figure out who you are and what you're supposed to be and what you stand for and what you're going to do. And there's a lot going on. Like, when did you know that music was just an unshakable passion?
Well, okay, so... There's two different questions there, right? Like, when did music become that sort of undeniable passion? And then when did expressing myself through music become an undeniable passion? And I guess I can answer both, right? But to answer the first part, or the sort of like first lens, I mean, as long as I can remember, I think just through like the way I grew up and the people I grew up around, rap music specifically, was the only music I would listen to that resonated with me, right? It like struck a chord. And it has been true that with exposure, other genres have been able to resonate. But as a kid, that was, not to sound cliche or whatever, but it was like, it made me feel, I felt seen, I felt heard. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not alone in this. Right. And shit, like my first time I heard Regulators, in my dad's Cadillac,
Oh my
like
God.
that was when it was over for me.
That song is fucking amazing. I'm sorry.
It's my dad's favorite song to this day.
I can understand why. That song is sick as shit.
It's fucking amazing, man. I don't know. I grew up with a lot of my dad listened to all like Curtis Mayfield and all like Motown, but when it was time for us kids to be sort of like, when he would play stuff in the car with us, it was always rap music. I don't know. I'm trying to pin down when I sort of like independently came across it, because, as a kid, it's like you're prescribed a lot of things, and a lot of pieces of your identity are prescribed to you by your parents or by whatever. And then you sort of reach an independence and you find things on your own. The first time I heard Lord Willin', I was in middle school, like the Clips album. That I remember just like that, the intro verse really hit home, because it was the first time I had heard somebody talk about the generational kind of family element of certain means of making ends meet. That was huge. I mean, I know that I could recite that entire thing front to back, but that was a big moment. I mean, obviously, as an angsty teenager, this was during the Eminem heyday also. So I cannot ignore the influence and the impact of things like this Marshall Mathers LP and some Shady LP. But nah, man, it, like Friend or Foe, Reasonable Doubt, all of the early Jay-Z catalog, Clips, early Pharrell, like that was when I feel like I discovered it, or sort of it became something that I found, as opposed to something that I heard in the car with my parents, or that was played in, in the backyard, we'd play dominoes or whatever, right? Like, so long-winded answer to your question, but to answer the second bit of your question is a bit more difficult, because I mean, I've only ever really worked with Sam, in making music. I've done other stuff with other people just to kind of help them out, but that was more behind the scenes, like writing. But he'll call me, and he's always been the one to push me to do it. And every time he would send me beats from his older projects, it was like, I need you here, right? And nobody else can go here. I need you here. And I was happy to do it. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it got me pussy. It was like, you know what I mean? It was fun to be a part of, right? But I don't like being in front of attention. It's just not how I was brought up. Cameras, I don't want to be in front. That's usually not the sign. That usually comes right before things go to hell. But in 2021 or 2020, I had a big shift in my life and was writing a lot. And Sam pulled me into the session to do what became Canali Suits. And that was going to go on Left-Handed Bandit. And after we recorded it,
I'm going to stop you. So,
yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, he said Canali Suits. That is one of the tracks off of his new album, Octopus. Okay, so I know you guys made this album in 2021, right? Basically.
Yeah.
And so does that ring true for the Left-Handed Bandit as well?
I mean, a lot of those songs were done then. And again, Sam can speak better than I can. I don't want to speak out of school, but
Yeah. I'm just trying to connect the timeline. That's all.
No, for sure. It wasn't called Left-Handed Bandit then. We were just making songs. That's kind of how I feel like it usually goes with him. And especially being close to him, recording with him. It's like, we'll just make shit, or he'll just make stuff. And then a through line will emerge, right? Or a project will emerge. But after Canali Suits, that was supposed to go on whatever he was doing next. It was just supposed to be another feature. And he knew where I was at. And, we had gotten a lot closer during and after COVID. And after we recorded Canali Suits, he was like, you're in the spot. You need to write, and you need to do this. Like, we need to make something bigger.
Now, was he saying that you're in a spot and you need to do this for therapeutic reasons? Because I know you wrote this as therapy. Like, is that why he was saying you need to do it? Or was he just saying, like, stop wasting your time and put this shit out?
No. Like, it was therapy. Like, he could tell, like, the stuff I was writing, now looking back on it, I was writing authentically and honestly in a way that I had not in the past. And not to discredit any of the stuff I have done in the past, but those feel almost like a projection, right, of this person that whatever. And it wasn't intentional. It just was like, boom, I'm here for one verse. I'm just gonna, I want to write what I think people are gonna like. This is gonna sound good. Not that it wasn't honest, but it was inflated. It was sort of projective, right? And this wasn't. And this was for whatever. And again, it's like, your headspace dictates kind of everything. But I just started writing about stuff that I hadn't written about, and in a way that I hadn't written about, and without this sort of glossy or overly finished, kind of shine to it. It wasn't a conscious choice. That's where I was at. And that's where I have to give him all the credit in the world. I wouldn't have done it without a push, and I wouldn't have done it with anybody else. And yeah, I owe him everything for that. We said this all the time we were making it. Like, I didn't care if anybody heard this project. That's the honest to God truth. Like, for me, I got what I needed out of writing it and record. It's like just the fact that we created it and it existed was enough. I mean, it sat forever. We recorded it the whole thing at 3 different studios because nobody could figure out my voice, which no engineer could kind of crack it. But for me, shit, I've been in therapy for a long, long time, whether it be of my own volition or not. And this project did more for me. And whatever, we wrote the whole thing in like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So it's hard to put into words the shift you go through when you commit something to permanence that is that important to you.
Like, your art is, not to downplay giving birth, but your art is your baby. And once you finally push it out into the world, it's a real thing. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Pull up a chair, make a pallet, or take a knee and tune in to Landon Talks with Kate, a conversational podcast blending humor, southern charm, and insightful discussions. We'll sip on some sweet tea and deep dive into topics ranging from caftans to collard greens, from art and literature to health and wellness, to internet trends and entertainment, and so much more. Expect listener questions, personal stories, and exciting special guests. Perfect for those of y'all who love to chat and learn something new every week. It'll be a relaxing, good time full of laughs and a lot of heart. Y'all come hang out with us everywhere podcasts are found.
Let's get back into it.
Let's talk about some of the things that have informed your point of view with your writing.
Sure.
Do I have this correct? Your mom is a first generation Italian?
Yes, she is. So she was born here, but her parents were not.
So first generation American. Okay.
Correct. Sorry. That's, yeah.
No,
Correct.
no worries. So where at in Italy is her people from?
Yeah, my family's from a little town called Via Paera, which is about 45 minutes outside of Venice. My mom's name is Venice because, Italians aren't that creative. So I met them for the first time when I moved over there in 2012.
You moved to Italy? Oh, we're going to get there.
Oh, yeah. My dad's Irish, but I grew up culturally Italian. I mean, it's a dominant culture. It doesn't really leave room for much else. So that's what I grew up with. There's a neighborhood in the city that used to be called Garlic Gulch, where all the immigrants came in from Italy back during the war. My grandpa came over during the war.
Which one?
2. He came over in 40, I don't know, he was 6. So he's born in 38, I think. So yeah, 44, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I really took for granted this community I had and the culture I had growing up. Kids tend to do that, at least in my experience. But looking back, man, like that sense of family and that tradition, I'm so like that I had that. I realize now as an adult that not everybody does. And, as a kid, I hated fucking Sunday dinner. I mean, it was like, it was like every day. It just felt like it was so pervasive, but looking back, man, it's like, God, I just feel so lucky that I had that, it's like, 100 people at family reunions. I feel very, very lucky and very grateful to experience that.
I think that a lot of different cultures place a different amount of emphasis or priority on family. And Italians seem to me to really, really hold a lot of emphasis on how important family is. I didn't really have that, just growing up, some random nondescript white kid. I have cousins I've never met, a lot of them.
Sure.
Family just wasn't really all that important, I guess, when I was growing up in my household. So I do think you're lucky. I'm jealous in that respect. Your dad, do I have this right? Your Irish dad, who's a slinger. He dealt the drugs.
I think we're past the statute of limitations. My dad is in his late 60s and still's a knucklehead.
Okay, cool. So that means your dad was a drug dealer and your dad was super into rap. That means your dad is white boy Rick.
My dad is, bro, ask Sam. Yeah, my dad is the hoodest dude you'll ever meet. So I'll say that and it'll come off like a caricature. It's not. My dad is probably the most emotionally intelligent person I've ever met. But my dad grew up in the shit. You know what I mean? Like, my dad was like marching for civil rights in Rainier Beach, when he was in high school. Like, he grew up in the mud. And that influenced the person that he is. And that influenced the person that I am. So, yeah, he drove a Cadillac and never had to be anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it was... Never seemed to have to go anywhere.
I've seen the movie White Boy Rick.
I haven't, but
oh my God, you got to watch this movie. Holy shit, you got to watch White Boy Rick.
I've heard that's McConaughey going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who the other guy, the kid is or whatever, but yeah, you got to check it out. You dropped out of college when they legalized weed in Washington?
Yeah, I was a junior. I mean, I was putting myself through college doing that before. I mean, I just got lucky. They legalized the one, a pretty big trap for me. So I dropped out and made a run at it. Let's see. They legalized in 2012. I don't know how in the weeds you want to get on business stuff, but
I see what you did there in the weeds. That's funny. Well, let's just say this.
Yeah.
So weed became legal. So you dropped out of college to sell weed, not as like a drug dealer, but like in a retail establishment?
Well, at the time, retail licenses were only assigned via lottery. So a business partner of mine, at that time, we were renting houses in a neighborhood in the city, and we would come in, and our pitch was like, look, we'll come in, build out your basement. Usually it was other immigrant communities. We come build out the basement, set it all up, and basically pay them. I think back then it was like $2 or $3 grand a month to basically just come down once, and like make sure the water was full or whatever. We would grow. Basically, we'd set up these houses and we'd grow at their houses.
Oh, okay.
And then we would pull down harvest and trim and bag and ship and whatever, right? But my partner and I, when they legalized things, we went after a production license because retail was assigned by lottery. And so we were at a bar one night in the wealthy neighborhood in the city, and we didn't have a business plan, but we knew we wanted to do it. And I was sitting next to this guy at the bar, and I got to talking to him, and he was like, look, come to my house tomorrow and pitch. I'm interested. And we were like, interested in what? He's like, investing. I was like, oh. So we stayed up all night and then went to his house the next day and cut us a check for $685 grand. And we got to cooking.
Whoa, hold on. Hold the phone. You meet some random dude in a bar, and then the next day he writes you a check for more than $500,000?
He didn't write us the check the next day, but we pitched.
Whatever. You met this guy in a bar, and he ended up writing you a check for $750,000.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
You must be one hell of a salesman.
I mean, what are you gonna do? I don't know. At the time, I was 21.
Jesus.
It was like none of this shit seemed real, right? I was like, what are we doing?
Wow.
I'm not going to name them because we had a very, very intense legal falling out, but they're still running. My ex-partner and him are still cooking to this day.
So still growing?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That is insane.
That was my entree into the recreational or legal market.
Okay, so without getting too specific, like when you exited that particular arrangement, did you just moonwalk out of there with duffel bags full of cash? Like, did you leave that situation rich as shit?
Not quite, no. So what had happened was basically, in order to be an equity participant in a cannabis market in Washington State, you had to have a clean record.
Oopsies.
Well, no, which I did and still do have, but my brother's going to hate that I'm telling. I don't care, whatever. My younger brother wasn't yet 21, right? 'Cause he's 2 years younger than me. He used my old ID to get into bars, and he caught a gun charge. So we're going through this. This is months later. This is maybe almost a year later. We're going through the application, or we're going through the hoops with the Washington State Liquor Control Board. And my investor's assistant calls me, and she's like, "Hey, why didn't you tell us you got a gun charge?" And I was like, "The fuck are you talking about? I have a gun charge." She's like, "Yeah, you do." Essentially, I found out what happened, and I had to go to court 5 or 6 times with my brother to basically like, hey, the guy that you booked in the county, this mugshot, it's not me, right? Like, so
they booked him under your name?
Yeah, he had my ID. They booked him as me. He spent the night in county as me.
Remember how I said family was like gangs?
Yeah, no shit, right? I mean, that's nothing, but. So my investor was like, look, we can't have you on this operating agreement until you get this figured out. And I was like, okay. And so I shook their hand, and they said, when you figure it out, we'll put you back on. And then when I figured it out, they didn't. Half of a pie is much nicer than a third.
Yeah, they were like, hey, you're cool and all, but we already got this set up, and we don't really need you.
Yeah. So moonwalking with duffel bags, definitely not.
That is funny.
But, like I said, cream rises to the top, man. I landed on my feet and kept it pushing. It was a very, very important lesson. The boardroom is a lot like, the neighborhood, right? It's gully.
That is nuts. Okay, so that's your first entree into business. Did you make another entree, maybe with somebody else or by yourself after that, into the same sort of business?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. So, I had kind of seen the writing on the wall that they were going to mix me out. I had been frequenting a at that time, medical dispensary, right? I would just go, either sell them weed or cop weed or whatever. And I started doing their books because they didn't have any. And I was an econ major. I was in college, just whatever, make a couple bucks, and started doing their books. And after the whole thing happened with my previous business, when I approached them, I kind of knew that I was going to get nixed, but I basically leveraged what I had going on because they wanted me to come on as a partner in the shop, right? And so I kind of took advantage of the timing of the situation and leveraged what I had going on in order to get a sizable chunk of equity in this, at the time, medical dispensary. Coincidentally, that was 2015, right when they basically folded in medical and rec into one market. And as a byproduct of that, they gave out 12 additional retail licenses in Seattle. But this time they weren't by lottery, they were for merit. And because of all the stuff I had done with them, making sure we paid our taxes and paid our employees above board and had a bank account, a business license, or whatever, I got 2 of those retail licenses.
Oh, shit.
2 of 12, yeah. And from there, it was off to the races.
So now you're rich.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know how much you know about the IRS, but as far as they're concerned, cannabis is a Schedule I narcotic. So as a business, I can't write off a damn thing. I'm taxed on gross. I'm doing okay, but if I was taxed correctly, yeah, I'll be having this conversation on a boat somewhere.
I didn't know that they tax on gross.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's fucked is what it is.
Just so that I'm clear, the IRS is like, that's not a real business. You can't claim any deductions.
Correct.
But since it is a pretend business, we're going to tax you on everything that the pretend business. What?
Correct. Yeah. It's tax code 280E. And it's essentially was put in place during the RICO era to prevent money laundering. And so I can write off my cost of goods sold. As a retailer, I can write off the purchase of the product itself. And that's it. All the SG&A expenses, I'm taxed on those. It's a nightmare.
That is fantastic. That sounds like a lot of fun. Tell me why you moved to Italy in 2013.
I was dating a girl and she said, I want to move to Italy. And we were done with college at this point. Or I had dropped out. She had finished her undergrad. She was like, I'm doing it. You can come with me or not. And I think I had like 25 grand saved up or 30 grand saved up. We bought one-way tickets and we left. So we had a little apartment in Florence, right by Piazza Santa Croce. Traveled all over.
Do you speak Italian?
Yeah, un po', for sure, a little bit. When I was there, I was like conversationally fluent, you know what I mean? But it's like a muscle, it atrophies. Yeah, dude, this was 10 years ago. I used to go back every year for a month till COVID, but I haven't been back since. We were all over the place. We were in Paris for a while. We were in Barcelona for a while, but our apartment was in Florence. My mom came out for the first time. The town that I'm from, or my family's from, is like one church, one pub, right? One dirt road. It's, one guy has Facebook and he's not related to us, but everybody in the town is pretty much a Chioda. So we had to basically send a carrier pigeon, let them know we were coming. I mean, we just kind of showed up. As I was coming in, you look to the right and there's a cemetery and all these headstones have my family's last name on them. And I was like, oh shit. Then I just get goosebumps. It's incredible, man. And they're still over there. My grandfather's mother had like 11 brothers and sisters because that's what you did back then. I mean, so there's a lot of them over there, a couple came over, but yeah, they're still deep out there.
So do you still have contact with some of them over there? Like, do you still send carrier pigeons back and forth?
Yeah, my mom is in touch with a few of them that are of the younger generation. So like of her generation or a little older. But like I said, I mean, at the time when I went, one guy had access to the internet, right?
Right.
So I think via Facebook, my mom is still in contact. She has since been back. I haven't been back to Via Paera since I lived there because I just wanted to travel to different parts of Italy after falling in love with it. But yeah, no, we're still in touch. Or my mother is, excuse me.
Okay. Now let's talk about music.
Let's do it, brother.
I guess we briefly mentioned Left-Handed Bandit, which is Sam Lachow's newest album, sort of.
It's the newest album without me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're on it.
That's true, I guess. That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's his second newest album. How about that? So you're on a few tracks on that album. And I guess what I want to know is if you could give me one itty bitty piece of advice, what would it be?
I mean, my follow-up line is probably the piece of advice I give to everybody, which is don't tell the cops a fucking thing,
And why?
Because, well, they tell you when they read you your Miranda rights that anything you say can and will be used against you. They tell you from jump that they're not your friends, right? So I think to act any way other than listening and heeding their advice, shut the fuck up. Don't talk. Be quiet. Call your attorney and relax. That's a piece of advice I would give everybody, man. I don't necessarily want to get into like too heavy into police politics, but like, brother, cops weren't my friends. Cops were not my friends growing up, right? Like, I've had too many calls. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. Fuck them.
Have you seen Hamilton?
No.
Have you heard the album at all?
No.
There's a pretty recurring line in there, which is talk less, smile more.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I could not agree more. I could not agree more.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Karen Silkwood had a purpose. She was headed to a crucial meeting that would blow the whistle on the billion-dollar nuclear corporation she worked for. Instead, she died in a concrete culvert on a dark, desolate stretch of highway just outside of Crescent, Oklahoma. To discredit her, authorities and the institution Karen sought to expose called her nothing more than an emotionally disturbed and sexually promiscuous drug abuser. But in her death, she became a martyr for feminism, environmentalism, and pro-labor movements. From the creators of Gone Cold, Texas True Crime comes Silkwood, a story that remains one of the most explosive conspiracies in 20th century America and became the inspiration for a critically acclaimed movie. Silkwood dives deep into 28-year-old whistleblower Karen Silkwood, her relentless fight for truth, and the chilling events that followed. Betrayal, danger, and a mysterious unsolved death that still haunts the nation 5 decades later. Seeking justice, Karen went up against a corporate Goliath and paid the ultimate price. With no known witnesses, what happened to Karen Silkwood on that cold November night? Was it an accident? Was she silenced for knowing too much? Or something far more sinister? In a world where profits are placed above safety, Silkwood takes you inside a gripping true tale of corporate greed, government cover-ups, and the deadly secrets inside a nuclear industry titan. Don't miss this eye-opening journey into one of the most powerful stories of our time. Find Silkwood on your favorite podcast platform and hit that subscribe button now. Some secrets are too dangerous to stay hidden.
Let's get back into it.
Okay, so you're on a couple of the tracks for Left-Handed Bandit, which was basically kickstarted.
Yeah, I guess it was, wasn't it?
And the album was made, but the Kickstarter was basically to get physical copies and to, I guess, make some merch.
Yep.
This is going to sound hopefully not disrespectful, but
No, go for it.
you guys made this music in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, we're going on 4 years ago.
Oh, I know.
What took so long? Why are we just now hearing it? I mean, okay, everybody, the new album is called Octopus. It is Ryan Campbell and Sam LaChow. I'm not sure how it's billed on the album. I don't really care.
We're co-mains.
Y'all probably do, but
We do. They're fucking right. I do. No, we're co-mains.
Who's listed first?
Sam is. Yeah, Sam is.
Okay, so it's Sam LaChow and Ryan Campbell?
I think it's Sam, yeah, and then an ampersand. And then Ryan Campbell. Yeah.
When did this album come out? Again, everybody, it's called Octopus. It came out already. It's all over the YouTubes and the Spotifys and all of the things.
It's all over your DSPs. It came out December 13th, Friday the 13th, 2024.
Okay. Why did it take so long?
Yeah, good question. A couple of reasons. I think one was something I touched on earlier. We didn't make it for anybody else. We made it for us. And I think for a while it was like we were satisfied. So
you were satisfied just listening it to yourselves and playing it for your friends? You're like, oh, this is cool. We did it. We're awesome. We did it. We were satisfied with, like, I would go over to his house. We would have nothing. He would start, bringing sounds in and tapping on his pads or whatever. And I would start writing. And 25 minutes, we had a song. And when we recorded that and got the roughs done and fucking worked over those lines and figured out that when we were done with that, we were satisfied. I don't give a fuck if anybody heard it, right? Like, and not to disrespect the audience at all, but like, I didn't make it for them. Right. I made it for me. And so
life happens, right? Like I moved to New York. I don't know. I wasn't in Seattle. After we made it, I wasn't in Seattle for quite some time. And, we recorded it top to bottom at 3 different studios. And we finally ended up back at our home base, which is David Severance, D. Sane's place. He's the guy that first recorded all of like Huckleberry. We recorded at 2 other places, and I know we just weren't satisfied. Sam's a career musician, so he understands like he can go in any studio and basically go, here, I want my levels here. I want my mids here, whatever. I'm not a rapper. You know what I mean? Like, so I just kind of would record and let the engineer, I thought, do the engineering and and we just weren't satisfied. So we moved to another studio, did it all top to bottom. And these are like, they're fucking 8, 9, 10 seconds, right? This is like a lot of fucking time and money goes into doing a whole thing top to bottom at a studio.
So you did the whole thing in 3 studios?
Yes, the whole thing.
Oh, I thought you did like this song in one studio and that song in another studio.
No. Top to bottom at 3 different studios.
That sounds expensive.
Yes, it is. It was. Yeah. But, it's all good. What is money, right? Fuck it. So anyway, we finally got back to D-Sane's because he was doing Left-Handed Bandit. I was doing my verses for Left-Handed Bandit, at D-Sane's, and we were like, well, these sound really good. I think it was Pat Riley. We recorded and we got it back and we were like, whoa, this sounds good. We should do Octopus here. And we were like, wait, why the fuck didn't we think of that? We've been recording this guy for 10 years. Like, I don't know why it took us so long to be like, wait, D-Sane, but
because it just wasn't time. The universe wasn't ready.
Brother, yes. That is, 100% I agree with that. Absolutely. And totally. So after we had done the first couple, we did Billy Bats and he had mixed it, like did a full mix down and master on it. And we got it back and we were like, this is it. This is our place. And at that point it was like, all right, fuck it. Let's put it out. And Sam was like, I just got off tour. Like, I don't want to be fucking promo man. And I was like, I don't want to promote, dude. I fucking hate cameras, right? You're not going to give me, you know what I mean? So we were just like, let's just drop it. We just dropped it.
That is hilarious. So this is going to sound even dumber, but I asked you, why did it take so long? But now I'm going to say, well, why didn't you wait longer until one of you was ready to promote it?
Because, again, I'm a business person first, right? Actually, I don't know if I can say that anymore. But so for me, the juxtaposition of art and commerce has always been a very interesting one. It's fucking weird. So for this, I have to kind of bifurcate it. It's like red blood, blue blood. So if I'm looking at something artistically, and again, I'm learning how to bring in elements of business into this thing because you have to. It's just the age we're in. But I think trying to remain as pure as possible in terms of like what we want to do for us, it felt right. And that's it. I mean, honestly, there's not really any long-winded kind of answer to it. We dropped it now. We didn't wait longer because that's what we wanted to do. And I think to some extent, man, the work speaks for itself, right? Like, I know you need some element of promotion. I mean, I'm here talking to you about it, right? So it's like, I get it, but I stand by the work. It'll do what it's supposed to do. We made it for us. That's it. If people like it, honestly, it's wonderful.
Again, everybody, this album is called Octopus. It is Sam Lachow and Ryan Campbell. There's 8 tracks. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Because an octopus has 8 legs, apparently.
So why do you call it Octopus? Is there a reasoning besides that there's 8 tracks?
No. Well, there weren't. We called Octopus, there were 6 tracks, and then we had to make 2 more. But
is that for real?
Yeah, deadass. We had 6, and then one of us was like, wait a minute, Octopus has 8. So then we made 2 songs the next night, and that was it. I don't remember what 2 songs they were, but anyway. So we were at a bar, I don't know. I think we had 6, and we were trying to figure out what to call it. And like I said, we were in a bar that had a lot of aquatic, old nautical kind of themes. And we were drinking some really ornate French wine. And I really love the aesthetic of old wine labels. And I don't know, something. Sam and I have always been big fish guys. So we're like big anchovy sushi. I mean, it's just like, and of course, after you land on it, you're like, well, octopuses are very empathetic and emotionally intelligent. And they're like, you can fit all of this shit into it, right? But realistically, we were just kind of like half sauced on some expensive French wine and saw an octopus, right? And we were like, okay, so we're going to do 3 and they're all going to have weird sea creature names. So they all will.
You're doing 3 albums?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if that's public. I don't give a fuck. It's public now. Whatever.
Breaking news, everybody. Wow. Now I got a lot of questions about this next couple of projects, but I'm not going to ask them.
Yeah, go for it. But yeah.
Are the songs already recorded are they already written for the next 2 albums?
Yeah, we have probably at this point like 4 or 5 half-baked. Production's pretty much done. God, man, the way that song, I don't know how anybody else does this shit, but I think a song exists as it goes through the lifespan before it's presented to the public. Until it's presented to the public, you're always working on it. And if you don't present it to the public, you will always be working on it. I don't think that anything's ever done. So these songs are not done in that there's empty airspace on them, but they do exist. They have the underpinnings. They have the totems, if you will, of songs. I don't know. There's probably 5. Again, like for us, I see Sam 3 times a week, right? And we don't always work, but like when we're both kind of got that little electric, you know, we move on it, right? But there's never any pressure to work. There will never be any pressure to work, at least for me. I mean, I can't speak for him, but for these projects, the reason that, in my opinion, they work and that the chemistry is there and the fluidity is there is because we don't push them. It's like when it's time, it comes out of you. And when it's time, you cannot help it. It has to get out of you. That's the way I want to do it. And I have the luxury of like, I don't feed myself with this. I'm truly like, this is, if I put it out, it's because I want to. That's it.
Okay, you said you're in New York right now. Do you live in New York?
I'm not in New York right now. I'm in Seattle right now, but
shit,
I split time between Seattle and New York. I have a place in Brooklyn, but I'm in Seattle right now.
Okay, so why do you see Sam 3 times a week? Are you in Seattle 3 times a week?
If I'm in town, yeah. I came back to New York in April or May. Yeah, and I've been back. I've just been hanging out here.
Okay, so why do you live in New York? Your business is in Washington, right?
Well, for now. Yeah, not for long. It'll be, yeah. I have business in New York, quite a bit.
Oh, kick-ass.
Yeah, New York just legalized in the end of 22, and I've been working on a lot of stuff out there, so.
Got you. You're working on expanding the brand.
It's not just for fun. I'm not just a vagabond.
Sure, no, I thought you were. What pays your bills in Washington is arguably sort of what's going to pay your bills maybe in New York, right? Ish?
Yeah, for sure.
Is this the brand that we can talk about, or we don't, or do we don't talk about?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, of course. The retail brand, my shops in Seattle are called The Bakery, Bakeree. I have one in Georgetown. I have one in downtown Seattle. If you are in Seattle or in the greater Seattle area and consider yourself an appreciator of artisan cannabis, come shop with us. There is not 1,000 SKUs at our shops. We are not the king of $20 eighths, but if you pick up anything from our shelves at any price point, you will be very pleased with the quality. We are curative. We represent smaller brands. We break brands. We are a house of brands.
My daughter lives in Centralia.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What is that, like an hour?
You tell me. Bro, I get 20 minutes outside of the city. I don't know where I am.
You and me both, man. I've never even been to Washington. That's rad as hell.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
You're welcome. I love that your brand is successful, and I love that you have kept with it for all these years, even with that initial setback of that random ass gun charge. I love that didn't stop you. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of quit. I talk about this a lot on the show. There's a lot of quit in people.
For sure.
Everybody seems, not everybody, but I feel like a ton of folks are just looking for a reason to quit anything, everything.
Absolutely.
And you didn't do that, dude. So props.
Yeah,
that's fucking sick.
That is, you hit the nail. I mean, honestly, I think you touched on something really important. I don't think a lot of people, I'm not going to proselytize much, but I don't think a lot of people realize how close they actually are when they're trying to do something. You're a lot closer than you think you are. And the only way you fail is if you stop. And I apply that to everything, right? Like I am the squeaky wheel always. Never say die. Keep going.
What other kind of stuff do you sell in your store? Obviously, I've never been to the bakery, but do you guys have hats and t-shirts and shit like that?
So, no, by law, we're not. It's really tricky with square footage and the confines of my store, from the envelope to envelope, right, from front to back. I can only sell cannabis products or products that have cannabis in them. So I have a lease on the place next door in Georgetown that we were going to do like a glass and goods kind of thing. But anyway, needless to say, it's very difficult to do anything other than cannabis, which honestly, I've taken the position that I'm specialized. So I've leaned into that specialization as a business person. So, you know, we've done merch drops with like guys that I like, creators that I know that I like. We'll do kind of capsules and one-off things for a while with creatives we like, you know, but for the most part, no, man, it's just good dope.
Interesting. That's wild. It's not like that here in Texas. Well, first of all, we don't really have quote unquote legal rec.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have some sort of a farm bill loophole, which is just like Delta 8 and Delta 9 and all that stuff.
I'm all over that.
I'm sure you are. But here they can sell everything. They sell, they sell hats and T-shirts and shit.
Yeah, it's cool. One of the upsides of it being illegal on the federal level is that every state is its own kind of autonomous regulatory environment. And so you get these like vastly different market environments state to state. And as an operator, especially one jumping in as one of the first states or the first state, or Colorado that legalized, I can like watch a state and I can read the bill as it's coming online, and I can decide if it fits my model, and I can decide if I want to expand into it based on the regulatory underpinnings. And so that's been really cool. And sort of just like an econ, like just like a nerd. I just nerd out about this shit. It's very cool to watch what sort of springs up from the ether and these different states as they adopt different regulatory policy. So yeah, it's cool. I'm very familiar with D8 and all that stuff you got going on in Texas. It's a lot of market.
That's wild. It sounds like it's very complicated. Like it's fun, I guess, if you're a nerd about it like you are, but it also sounds like super stressful. Like I guess for the average person, these rules are just tricky and weird and whimsical.
They're arcane as fuck for sure.
But like for a guy like you who's really into it and just like knows his shit, I guess it's really fun to learn more shit about the rules elsewhere.
It is. Honestly, it keeps the RJ Reynolds and the Pfizer, the wolves are at the gate, right? When we see federal legalization, like the little guys, I've told this to my investors forever. It's like, we're going to get a check or a letter. So when those guys come in, we're either getting bought out or stomped out, right? So they're at the gates, but they can't really get in right now. The big multinationals have a very difficult time penetrating these smaller markets. And so that allows a cottage industry to kind of develop, which is what we have. But I mean, if you're in my industry, if anybody listens to my industry and you're not building to sell, brother, you're building to die. And that's my take on it.
Well, Ryan, let me ask you this. We talked a lot about your new album, Octopus. We're about to head out, but I have a favor. Can I play one of the songs from Octopus?
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited to hear what you're going to play.
Oh, that's funny because I was going to let you pick it. Am I picking this?
Well, I mean, it's your show. Yeah. Why don't you pick it? That sounds great.
Hey, it's your music.
I know.
Okay, I'll pick it. It'll be a surprise.
Good. Awesome.
And since it's a co-album with you and Sam, I'll reach out to Sam and get his permission.
Please send him my love.
I will too.
All right.
Hey, Ryan, before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find you on social media. Are you on social media?
Yes, I am. As a very relatively private person, I am begrudgingly on all. You can find me on Instagram at Ryan Campbell, but there's a Q instead of a C for my last name. You'll find me there posting good food and shit that inspires me and what I'm doing with my life. Other than that, you can find the album on all major DSPs. We've got merch dropping pretty soon that I'm doing. That's going to be very cool. Well, I'm doing with Sam, but I'm kind of like heading the creative on it. So that'll be sick.
Is there a website where that merch is going to be available?
It'll all be done through Sam.
Okay.
He has the bones. He has the platform, and I think we've talked about stepping out, but it just makes the most sense just for like the confusion's sake, just like pump it all through what already is there, and it fits. It's like, he's the front, right? Like he's the face, bro.
Sure. So everybody go check out samlachow.com as well as Sam Lachow and Ryan Campbell with a Q all over social media.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to play the song like as we're heading out. So it'll be the last thing everybody hears before my closing credits.
Awesome.
Ryan, is there anything, I mean, I feel like we just barely scratched the surface of you, but is there anything specifically that you wanted to talk about today that I didn't ask you about or we didn't cover this time?
No, I mean, I've done a few interviews for my businesses over the past, but this is the first time I've done anything like this. For someone who's relatively private, once I've decided to talk to someone, I'm an open book. But no, man, I mean, honestly, I was really nice to talk to you. I didn't come in with any sort of idea or perspective I needed to take. It was just sounded like something that was fun. Sam said he had a nice chat with you. I really want people to go listen to the album. If they like it, great. If they don't, fantastic. And to anybody that's listening that has a way to creatively express the shit that's going on in their head, do it. Don't stop doing it. Keep writing, keep painting, whatever it is, just keep doing it because this shit's hard enough,
I love it. I love the inspirational message to go out on. Ryan, I don't know if you're going to be into it, but I would love to have you back to promote those next 2 albums, bro.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. No, I'll keep you in the loop when, we can maybe time something with the drop or whatever. Yeah, man, this is really nice to talk to you, Steve. We'll stay in touch.
Very cool. Tell everybody one more time where they can find the bakery.
They can find the bakery in Seattle. We have 2 locations open right now, one in the downtown or Belltown neighborhood of Seattle and one in Georgetown, and that's Bakeree. So if you are in Seattle and appreciate connoisseur cannabis, come fuck with my shops. You probably won't see me there, but tell whatever bud tender that you're talking to that you came because of me, and they'll ask who I am.
Love that.
All right.
That's funny. All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. You have a great rest of your week, man.
Yeah, you too, brother. Have a good one. Thank you.
Peace.
It's good to be in something from the ground floor. I came too late for that. I know. But lately, I'm getting the feeling that I came in at the end.
Look. Timeless. Billy Bats through the back, get you shining. And you can find him in a dark room where the waiters gotta blow a bunch of dust off the wine list.
I turned 30 last week, Pops. I rock Reeboks, and my knee pops. I'll have whatever he got. I overheard the special not to eavesdrop.
I keep 100 in my palm when we shake hands. The chef kissed both cheeks when we came in. But I was doing key bumps at the fish course, so I skipped the other 6 plates that he sent in.
I told him omakase, I'ma eat it all. The machi was delicious, salmon needed salt. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, Peking duck, gold flakes in the duck sauce.
I look like Frank Sinatra's mugshot, drugs chopped, old blue eyes in a dust spot. I used to sell 9s with the trunk popped, but now the 850 glide by the bus stop.
And when the fun stops, guess who stays? And when the check came, guess who paid? Mama got me a foolproof recipe for creme brulee. Still burnt the edges in my Le Creuset. Right, you tried to teach
I'm
me.
moving loud with a whisper. My plug stepped out in his house slippers. We get that Malcolm, no middle. Now it's Tiffany plates, champagne, and cut crystal.
I blamed enough situations I've been through. Plates in my microwave that I sniffed through. Laundry list full of problems. Chest full of liquor, fist full of confidence.
And I live for the opulence. Grilled calamari, lemon zest on the octopus. Not sorry, less I feel there might be profit in it. Rock to the mailman, how Stockton did it.
Bully ball, I'm playing on Dennis Rodman's Pistons. Could've called but didn't, and probably cost a friendship. Starts with a lie, hard on his sleeve, but darks in his eyes.
And the apartments in the sky saw $1 million cash, and it almost made me cry. I was born into crime. I don't know how to tell the truth. I was born into lies.
We cop sweets from the stores on the corners of the same streets that we ordered from. Thought we'd live forever, never cleaning up the kind of things that we believed in once.
And now I do it for the sport. I don't need to run Olympic medal floor seats for dealing drugs. 12 months worth of bills at once in the name of gold teeth and silver tongues.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.